My name is Daniel, and for nearly 12 years I worked as a navigation systems technician along the Pacific Northwest coast. Most people imagine lighthouses as quiet tourist attractions with scenic views, but there are still dozens of remote navigation stations scattered along dangerous stretches of coastline that very few people ever see. In the spring of 2019, I was assigned to inspect one of those stations. It sat on a lonely rock island nearly 9 miles offshore, surrounded by jagged reefs that had sunk more ships than anyone cared to count. Because severe storms had damaged part of the electrical system the previous winter, I wasn't sent alone. Another technician named Marcus came with me. He was calm, experienced, and impossible to rattle. The station consisted of the lighthouse, a small generator shed, and a concrete storage bunker built into the rocks decades earlier. Once the supply boat disappeared beyond the horizon, the island felt incredibly small. Every direction was ocean. There wasn't a single tree, no wildlife besides a few gulls. Just waves smashing endlessly against black cliffs. One piece of equipment especially caught my attention: the fog bell. Long before modern electronic navigation, a massive bronze bell mounted beside the lighthouse warned ships whenever heavy fog rolled in. It hadn't operated in years. A newer electronic horn had replaced it decades earlier. Its striking mechanism had long since been disconnected. The mounting bolts were rusted solid. Out of curiosity, I asked Marcus if he'd ever heard it ring. He laughed and said, "Not unless someone swings it by hand." On our third night, a heavy fog settled over the island. Visibility dropped so quickly that the ocean disappeared almost completely. We finished dinner and went to bed around 10. Sometime during the night, I woke to a deep metallic sound. Dong. The vibration rolled through the entire building. At first, I thought I was dreaming. Then it came again. Dong. Not loud, not frantic. Just one slow strike every 30 seconds. Marcus was already awake when I stepped into the hallway. "You hear it?" he asked. I nodded. The bell. We grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. The fog swallowed our flashlight beams almost immediately. The old bronze bell stood exactly where it always had beside the lighthouse. Completely still. No movement. No wind strong enough to move something that heavy. Yet, dong. The sound echoed again. Both of us watched the bell. It never moved. Marcus slowly circled behind it. Nothing. No ropes. No people. No animals. I could actually feel the vibration through the soles of my boots. Marcus frowned. "I don't like this." Neither did I. We returned inside and locked the door. The ringing continued until sunrise. Exactly one strike every 30 seconds. Then it stopped. The following morning, things became stranger. I noticed fresh writing inside one of the maintenance logbooks. On the final page, written in faded blue ink, was a sentence neither of us recognized: "Don't answer the bell after dark." There was no signature. No date. Just those 6 words. That evening, the fog returned, even thicker than before. At exactly 1100 p. The bell rang again. Dong. 30 seconds later. Dong. Only this time, something else joined it. 3 slow knocks echoed from somewhere beneath the floorboards. Knock. 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 The sound hadn't come from outside. It came from underneath the lighthouse, and whatever made it was moving. Marcus grabbed one of the heavy flashlights. "There's an access hatch in the storage room," he said quietly. According to the station's blueprints, it led to a narrow maintenance tunnel that allowed workers to inspect drainage pipes beneath the foundation. We cleared the boxes away and stood over the rusted hatch. The knocking had stopped. Marcus slowly pulled on the iron ring. With a loud scrape, it lifted, and a stale, damp smell hit us immediately. Cold seawater, wet stone, and something metallic. We climbed down the narrow ladder. The space below was barely tall enough to stand in. We walked only 20 feet before finding something neither of us expected: a wooden chair. It sat against the wall facing the ladder. Someone had placed it there deliberately. Layers of dust covered the floor around it, except directly in front of the chair. Thick. The dust had been disturbed recently. Marcus whispered, "Someone's been down here." My flashlight drifted farther along the tunnel. The beam stopped on an old brass lantern. Its glass was cracked and its handle was green with corrosion. Yet the wick inside looked almost new. as if someone had replaced it not long ago. We continued toward the end of the tunnel. About 50 feet from the ladder, the passage narrowed until it ended at a solid stone wall. There was nowhere else to go. No hidden doorway, no second exit, nothing. Marcus looked back toward the ladder. So what made the knocking? Before I could answer, the bell rang again. Dong. Even underground, we felt the vibration. Then came another sound. Footsteps. Heavy footsteps crossing the wooden floor directly above us. Someone was inside the lighthouse. Marcus and I sprinted back toward the ladder. As we climbed into the storage room, we immediately realized something was wrong. The front door stood wide open. Neither of us had opened it. Cold fog drifted slowly through the doorway. Outside, the bell struck again. Dong. This time the sound came from much closer. Marcus stepped cautiously onto the porch. The bronze bell still hadn't moved. It hung perfectly still. Then my flashlight caught movement near the weather station. Someone walked through the fog. Only for a second. Just a dark silhouette. Too tall to identify. It disappeared almost immediately. "Hey," Marcus shouted. No response. We searched the entire island for nearly an hour. The generator shed. The fuel tanks. The shoreline. Nothing. There was nowhere anyone could hide. By the time we returned to the lighthouse, the bell had finally stopped. Neither of us slept. At sunrise, we radioed headquarters and requested an early pickup. The supply boat arrived shortly after noon. As we loaded our gear aboard, the captain asked a strange question. "You boys expecting another crew? I thought I saw someone standing in the observation room when we came in." Both of us turned. The windows at the top of the tower were empty. No movement. No one waving. Nothing. We didn't tell him about the bell. There didn't seem to be much point. A month later, I received an email from one of the supervisors overseeing maintenance records. He wanted to know why we'd left an old lantern inside the foundation tunnel. He attached a photograph. It was the exact lantern Marcus and I had seen beneath the lighthouse. Only it wasn't underground anymore. It had been found sitting in the middle of the lantern room at the very top of the tower. No one could explain how it got there. The hatch beneath the storage room had remained locked from the moment we left until the next inspection team arrived. Even stranger, the old maintenance tunnel had partially collapsed during the following winter. When engineers inspected the damage, they discovered the tunnel ended exactly where we'd seen it. There had never been another exit. No hidden chambers. No forgotten passage leading to the shoreline. No place where anyone could have entered or escaped. The island was eventually upgraded with fully automated systems, meaning technicians no longer stayed overnight. I left coastal maintenance a few years later. Every now and then, someone asks if I ever miss working on remote lighthouses. I always tell them the same thing. I miss the ocean. I miss the quiet, but I don't miss hearing a bell ring when there's nothing left that could possibly make it ring.